Hello everyone, it's video blog time. And as you can see, I've titled today's video blog, Things a Do-It-Yourself Artist Should Not Do. Or Things You Should Not Do as a Do-It-Yourself Artist. One of the two. Over the years, I've made a lot of mistakes as a musician, and I'm always trying to fix that, because if you can get your music project or whatever it is you do in entertainment as good as possible, well, then you're going to help yourself succeed, if that's what you want. And obviously fixing mistakes is something that's very important to that, mission, to that journey. And I'm always looking out, trying to figure out, the whole world and how to make things better for myself. And also, if I learn a thing or two, I really want to share it with you all as well. So a lot of these, some of these tips come from my own experience of making mistakes myself, but a lot of them also come from just looking out and seeing different bands and different artists in the do-it-yourself world make these mistakes, and I notice, and maybe I'll be able to stop myself from making these mistakes before, just by observing, So yeah, first I just want to mention that I will be playing a show. If you're in this area, you can go check it out. It's in my kind of local area. So it's a venue called Yerberia Cultura. Now, I've played Yerberia Cultura 3 times this year. Well, this is going to be the 3rd time, and it's always really cool out there. I'm glad that I get to go back and play a show there on the weekend, I might add. So very excited for this show. But if you're not in the area and you can't check the show out, I will be uploading a video of highlights of the show at some point. Probably after the gig, a couple days later or something. So yeah, look out for that. And also a brand new song is in the works. Actually, it's almost finished. So I just need to mix it, master it, and yeah, you can stream it on this YouTube channel when it's out. So both of those things I'm looking forward to, and I just want to mention them before I start talking about this subject. All right, so here we go. And maybe I was thinking of maybe separating the tips, in different, with different titles, and kind of making it a little more clear cut. But I realized earlier that a lot of these tips fall into the same kind of umbrella. All these tips kind of fall under the category of try not to look too desperate. Okay, and I'll get to that desperate part at the very end. It'll make more sense at that point, because I think it's the #1 tip. But first I'll start with kind of the more minor, within that, kind of the more minor little details of that, under that big giant umbrella of looking really desperate as an artist, and kind of finding better ways to present yourself, and realize that not everybody has the same, goals. If your goal is not to be a successful musician or artist or comedian or entertainer or whatever, then do what you do and have fun with it, and that is it. You don't have to think twice about it. There's no wrongs. There really isn't. It's art, and that is subjective. It's an art form. So, but if you want to have some sort of engagement with fans, like you want them engaging with you, and of course at this level we have to engage back as well, or else, and I'll get to that more a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, you want to see that engagement on your social networks. You want to have fans, just straight up. If that's what you want, then there's going to be consequences to certain things that you do, and I'll mention these tips, as a way to maybe avoid some of those mistakes. Let's see. Okay, so first off, the first mistake that I see quite a bit, and this one, Kickstarters and GoFundMe's, they have a place in entertainment. They have a definite place, but you have to really look at your project, your product. Or, I know, here we are in this do-it-yourself world. We don't have to call our art a business, but if you want to get somewhere and you want to have fans, in the end, words are words. I mean, you may not like the word business, but you're still running your art form like a business. So, some people have more successful do-it-yourself projects, and at that point, a GoFundMe, a Kickstarter may be a good option. Okay, so I'm not shooting the idea down. Many artists have used it to great things, great results. But the reason I'm mentioning GoFundMe's and Kickstarters is because I also see a lot of artists use them in the wrong way. Now, a lot of times you'll see, help us get a really professional album out, help us get a tour off the ground or a music video, and these things can all be done correctly. But what happens a lot is artists start dreaming a little too big, a little too quick, and they put them out, they put the money way too high, and they're not reached. And at the end of that, you could say, well, at least they tried. Error, no, that's not true. The problem is that you have to balance these things out, because if you're being watched by, like, say, 100 people, I know on Facebook, let's just take Facebook, they give you kind of a bit of a reach analytic there, and you can read that and say, oh, all right, 156 people saw this post, which is not a lot at all, but say 156 people saw the post. Out of some of that, not all of those are going to actually read the post, but you put the GoFundMe Kickstarter out for, let's say, to fund your album, right? You want to make an album of 12 songs. You want $1,200 to $1,500, right, for studio time. It was only seen by 156 people. Maybe half of that read it, and in the end, you had one fund of like $50, $20, $10. I don't know. You're far off from, and the 156 people, maybe the 80 people that saw it, just saw you guys fail, or whoever you are, fail. And that's really sad, and it leaves an imprint. It leaves, it's not something they'll forget when they think about your band. So while risks can be good, all I'm getting you all is to think a little harder when you do these things, because there are bands out there that have a ton of fans that obviously maybe they're depending on options, and maybe you need this amount of money, maybe a little faster than normal. Maybe a Kickstarter is a good idea, and you see your fans, you're like, well, we got this. Our fans, they want the album. Maybe they can help fund it, and boom, 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 it's reached. You see it all the time, but I want to say you see the fail a little more. And so all I'm saying is be smart about it. Look at your past posts. Is this something that's possible? Maybe not, depending on your position. If that's what you're thinking, if your gut's telling you that, you got to listen to it sometimes. Yeah, hold that off. Let's fix something else first, and maybe we'll get to the point where we can do something like that. Because remember, these websites, the GoFundMe and the Kickstarter, there's a lot of really serious issues that get funded on those pages, like illnesses, families that need money for very serious things like that. Music is the last thing that like things to fuel your career. Those aren't things that are on the forefront, for a lot of people, and you have to understand that. I'm sure you do, but sometimes it gets a little. I know you kind of like, well, what if? If it's a what if, probably don't do it. If it's I know this can happen, I know we can reach this, then by all means do it. But you got to get good at figuring out whether you should or shouldn't, because when people see that you fail, it's really bad. And obviously you can overcome it, but we're not on the big machine. We're not on the music industry. We're alone. We run our careers. So you have to be really picky with how people see you. I've learned that. And I'm not saying to be fake. I'm just saying to figure out what you want to do and what version of that works well, if that's what you want. So yes, think twice about that. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying think twice about it, and make the decisions on how you see fit. Okay, so something else that's kind of in a similar. It's all the tips I'm going to give you are similar, because I would say, if you put a GoFundMe out and you kind of feel like you're probably not going to reach it, but you're you're dreaming about it. Maybe what if? That kind of all this stuff falls under the being desperate. So. Okay, so number 2 here would be, let's see which one. Okay, knowing your means, and this is very similar to the last one. Say you're gonna make a music video, and you're like, oh, I see this, and I see that, and I see this. I'm gonna make a video that's just very elaborate. Now, don't get me wrong, we're all different. We have different friends. We have different, means. We have different sources of, connections, so we all make different amounts of money, different incomes, you know. So our stories are all a little different, but still, we still have to use common sense and figure this out. If you want to make a video and you're doing it yourself, like you have, I don't know, like a friend that doesn't even know how to use a camera, you know, and they're gonna film it for you. It's possible. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just know what you're going up against, you know, and figure out how to get the best, you know, video from that. And I mean this 100% wholeheartedly. You can get a great product from any level of, you know. You can get a great product no matter how cheap it is, no matter how expensive it is. Doesn't matter. There's something for every budget. And I can honestly tell you, more expensive doesn't always mean better. It can, of course it can, but you can make a video on a handheld camera, but with the right idea. And I say handheld like one of those old ones that like shoot like really grainy, like old, you know, 8mm sort of video. You know, I'm just saying, like, I don't think anyone really shoots on that anymore. But you know, just in case, worst case scenario, like you can shoot a video on almost anything, and with the right idea, you can make something that is art and that people will like. But know what you're going with. For example, I would imagine most do-it-yourself artists that are filming their own videos probably use their phones. So, and I've used my phone on many videos. You just have to not be so, you know, you can't reach to the stars when it comes to that sort of thing. You know, there is a limit to this. So you have to realize, like, oh, right, you know, I can't do that idea that I really want to do because I just can't. And what happens is sometimes artists, and I've seen this, will say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. They tell all their fans, or, you know, however many fans they have, and nothing happens. Nothing ever gets released because it was just too much, you know. And so if you just, you know, don't think beyond your means, you know. If you want to do something in the foreseeable future, you know, obviously if you want to do something really big, you can save some money, and you know, you hire a very real video producer, and you know, you get something a little more high budget, of course. So I mean, there's no rules here. I mean, you can do what you want, but just kind of look at it, you know, with a magnifying glass. Work within your means, okay? And that can mean, oh look, and this goes along with it as well. You're taking pictures, right? You're taking pictures with your iPhone. Don't throw 8 or 9 filters on there to, you know, fix something on your face that you don't like, you know, or something that came out wrong. No, just take another photo shoot, you know, because you're shooting with an iPhone, and you know, obviously it's not the best camera, but it, you know, we've come a long way with our cameras, and we can do a lot with them. Just when you edit it, don't overdo it. Take a good picture, and then, you know, you just do a little bit here and there, and that should work. So just and the reason I mentioned the whole photo thing with phones, because I run into photos sometimes that just look like, I don't know, is that a face? Is that the hand, or is that the base? You know, that sort of thing, where it's just like you could tell they put it under 5 or 6 filters and put the contrast on 100, and you know, it's red and orange, and you know, that sort of thing. Okay, that's enough for that. 3 is, I don't know that I'm quite numbering these tips, but you know, I guess I did already. So 3, water. No, that's not the tip. All right. 3 is getting very over social. Now I see this sometimes, and sometimes it looks desperate. You can do this if it's natural. You'll know if it's natural. But when you're desperate and you're like, man, I want people to you know, hear my music, or I want people to, you know, discover our band, or this one is the first one I can say that I have done myself. I've done this myself, and I've learned, and I'll talk about that right now. And I've seen a lot of other people do it as well. So it's like, I don't know, you're feeling like you want some engagement on your page, for people to hear your music. You say, well, what can I talk about that like will get people to want to answer a question? That'll get the, I don't know, the algorithms like rolling here or something on your page, and all of a sudden, you know, you're getting a little bit more visibility. So you go on your page and say, who likes pancakes? I do, you know, and then only to have one like and you know, 0 comments. So you're like, oh yeah, well that didn't work. I could have sworn people love pancakes. Well, see, yeah, people love pancakes, but that's just a random example, by the way. I don't think I've done that exactly. But the reason why the engagement was so bad, well, one, because pages don't always work that well. And, you know, Facebook pages like Page Manager, you know, a page, a like page, those aren't always as good as like a normal personal profile in terms of like algorithm. A lot of times, it's just getting worse and worse. But still, a good healthy following will engage with your page. So you put this question out that seems highly likely for people to engage with, yet there's nothing, 1 like. Well, that, my friends, is because the people that did see it, they know you're desperate. They know it's coming from a place that just wants engagement. And a lot of times, when it's the whole push away effect. You don't want to do that. So what you want to do is just fight that urge to put that message and say, hold on, don't do that. Because what you need to do is be natural. And what you'll find is that sometimes people love the question like that. Out of the time, crickets, you know, nothing. That is because, my friends, it has to be natural. It can't be like, oh man, I'm just so lonely in this world of music, right? So let me put this question. Nothing. Okay, and I say we because that I have done that before. I've had a few that work and a few that don't work, but nevertheless, see the way the word work there is the problem. I'm like testing the people on my page. I don't want to do that. I want it to literally be natural. Now I get it. This is kind of a business. It's my business. Not everything's gonna be natural. There are gonna be times where I want to promote something straight up. Okay, that's the truth, and it has to be that way. But there are ways of going around it. You'll feel when it's right. You'll feel when it's wrong. So just start slow. You know, you're not going to change your personality, you know, overnight, or you're not. I don't want you to change your personality. I want your personality to be real, but I want the desperate feelings on your posts to come off, and just knowing about it should help you take that first step and say, all right, you know, let's see what I can do here. Another one, and this falls right along with these tips, is contests. God, no, what's wrong with contests? Well, like the GoFundMe and like the Kickstarter and like the question that wants attention. Contests can be good if you have the fan base, but they can be bad and really embarrassing if you do not. Here's an example. I got a CD, I got a shirt. I want someone to win this, right? What lucky fan is gonna win this shirt and this CD? So you put up a post saying, let's do the contest. All right, who wants to win this shirt and this CD, right? So you're like, man, this is gonna work, right? There's that word work again. And once again, 3 likes, 2 of them are from your aunt and your uncle, and 1 comment that, you know, maybe is, I don't know, in another language or something, you know, a fan that and you have to like translate it and you still don't understand like what the real meaning of the comment was. You know, that sort of thing where it's just like, that didn't go the way you thought it was gonna go, you know? So what do you do now? Well, you know, I guess I'll just delete the post, right? Granted, contests can be awesome when they're natural, all right? We have enough fans that it seems like there's fans that probably, you know, a good way to know whether you're in a position to make contests is if you're already selling music. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I sold, I don't know, $1,000 worth of songs like in the last 6 months or something, I don't know, something, a good number like that. And if I'm selling that much, well, chances are people are going to want it for free, so they're gonna do the contest. That could be a good indicator on whether you should do a contest. But, you know, you should know, just like all these other things, like whether you should or not. And I know, all these things you could say, Chris, you need to take some risks. You know, you can't be scared. Well, my answer to that is, who says I'm scared? No, I'm not necessarily scared. I just know it's not the right time. It's not. it's not the right time. You'll know when it is. Like, if you see those do-it-yourself artists and maybe, you know, get like 100 likes on every post, they sell well, they have a lot of merch, they're touring regularly, yeah, I suppose they can do these sort of things. But you know, you should know when yeah, I'm probably gonna get 3 likes, and it'll probably be from like someone who's really not even interested in what I'm, you know, doing. They just have a tendency of liking my stuff, you know, through the timeline. And here's why I don't think you should do it if you feel like it won't work, because once again, the old judge you for a fail. You know, you don't want that. Music is really weird in the fact that like people, they want to share the music they like, but if there's something that will stop them from sharing it, even if they like it, they will not share it. I know that from experience too. I've never actually done a contest. I don't think I have. But I may in the future. You know, if I see it fit, when, you know, if it's, you know, something I can see happen at some point. But yeah, you just don't want to be judged like that, because you don't want to be the person or the artist or the band that you know, you got some fans that secretly like you, don't really want to share you because, yeah, you know, they've seen you fail a couple times, and, you know, kind of pushes, you know, the fans away. And what you want to do is do things right so that fans actually build up to the point where they don't feel the need to like not admit they like your music, you know. And trust me, I know it may sound like I'm saying these things and they don't exist. Trust me, they exist. The people that really know what I'm saying is true are the artists themselves that are watching this. Okay, so yeah, contest. Yeah, you know, just like the GoFundMe and Kickstarters, they do have their place, but we need to find out whether we can do them or not at any given time, you know. Okay, so anything else? I believe there is. Let's see. Let me just search my mind. Yeah, well, okay. This finally leads me to the point of, you know, the big umbrella, being desperate. So what do you do? Because I mean, if you're in this area of a no-win situation where, man, it feels like you're desperate, but you really want a career in music, well, what you do is, I just mentioned all the things that I've noticed from other artists, you know, myself as well. There's also the stuff that inspires you, the stuff that made you want to be an artist in the first place, you know. Bands that are signed to these massive record labels, maybe they're the few you like that are not, but they're all great artists and they've inspired you. Well, what did they do right, you know? Well, what they did right was something. They did one thing right, and that's all you really need is one thing that's great, right? One thing that what does so and so do? I don't know. What does Taylor Swift do? I don't know. Her lyrics tend to be pretty damn good. You know, obviously her newer stuff, that's up to you to decide. What does Kanye West do well? I don't know. Maybe he promotes himself really well. You may say bad, but I don't know. It's kind of like a 50-50. Well, being on a major record label, that's like a huge amount of people on both sides. So that I figure that's all he needs. You know, everybody does something that's great. But in the end, like with a big artist, they got the machine behind them. They can fail in a bunch of areas, and it just does not matter. All that matters is a couple things that speak to the fans. But when you're on this level, you can't mess up that much, or there's nothing. Like it's a very, very thin line between someone doing things that are rising on social networks, or just absolute nothingness, you know, on social networks. And we got to I want to find that line and say, okay, I'm going to drift to the side of success, you know. And what I can say is, look to the people that do inspire you. What are they doing? What are the things they do great? And how can I use that in my career? You know, I don't have the budget. We don't all have the budget, but we can figure out a way to promote ourselves that's likable. That's all. That's it. We're entertainers now, like I've said before. We're not necessarily just one thing. You're not just a comedian. You're an entertainer. You're entertaining people behind this screen. And this screen is a huge thing nowadays. It's almost everything. Now, if you asked me, Chris, what is the main thing you like to do? Like, what is the funnest thing that fuels my career? playing live is. And it always has been, playing live. I love writing music, but I like writing music so I can play it live. I love recording the music, I like recording it so I can play it live. I love doing everything. The end game is playing live. But I don't want to play live to 2 people, to 1 person. Actually, right now I actually kind of do enjoy playing even small shows because I don't play that many. But for the most part, yes, you know, you start playing, the more you start playing, the more you'll start wanting to play the bigger shows. So I want to play live, and I want to play good shows. The only way I'm going to do that is to have people that like me, that actually want to see me. I'm not saying like, oh, get on a bill where like I'm, the local scene will go out and kind of check me out. That has to happen. You got to pay your dues. I'm not saying that I'm not denying that fact. I believe in that system. You do have to pay your dues. But the end game is to make fans, to get people to like you. And how are you going to do that when you're scaring them off by releasing stuff that just doesn't make sense? That constant failure. I'm telling you, it's a harsh world. Nobody owes you anything. Nothing. No one owes you, because they're living. They're humans too. They need something. They need money. You need money. You need to put food on the table, to take care of the people you love in your life, or to take care of yourself. Nobody owes us anything, or you if you're a DIY artist, or yeah, whatever you do. So pull from things that you love, that work. Find a way to bring that in on what you do. Find a way to not make the mistakes that I just mentioned. Put that all together and release content. Keep on releasing it. Now I want to show you something. I should have brought it over here, and I'll end with this right now. 1 second. Okay. So this year has been the best year of my Chris Guy project, no doubt. In terms of getting somewhere, improving my story, my situation. This is my YouTube analytics. It's my views since, I believe, let's see, 9/15. Okay, September 15th is where this starts. You see? Not a lot of views, about 40 a day here, a little less than 80 there, but there seems to be about an average of like, I don't know, like 20 views a day. Not too good. Got a lot of views I got a lot of videos on my page. I got a lot of music on there, and I'm getting about 20 a day. Probably some of those are myself. So that's not a lot of interest. There's not a lot of interest going on there. But you'll see a little spike here. It's probably something I put up. Like, the spikes tend to happen when I have like a new video and I put it out on that first day, and it gets views. So it goes on, right around here. Now this is last year. This is around September of last year. I started recording covers, right? I'm not a real cover guy. I do love playing covers. I mean, I love music, so they're fun to play. But I'm not always scanning the horizon for like new covers like a lot of people do on YouTube and have massive videos. There's some beautiful covers on YouTube, as you may know, that have made artists. But it's not really what I do, and it's not really what I'm going to be doing. Now, I'm still going to be doing covers, but I do it at my own pace. I do covers that I want to do when it hits me. Like, I'm not thinking about it. It just like it'll hit me one day. Like when I did Twinkle Twinkle Little Star this year. My daughter was born in February. I'm like, I like this. I can do this. That's kind of how I go about it. It was only last year in like around September that I really kind of went crazy with it and did about 9 covers. But you see that little spike right there, right? And they were getting about 100 views, 200 views, somewhere around there. Okay, so right here, start of this year, look at that rise. I mean, it's clear as day. You see it. It's a real rise in my YouTube views. So what was it? Well, what I found this year was obviously the video blog. I've been fairly consistent with it. I don't do it every day. I'd like to get to the point where I'm doing it even more often than I am now, but or have been. But yeah, I started the video blog, I believe on the first day of this year. And it was supposed to be to, be able to release content and talk about things that are on my mind. It kind of morphed into like a DIY musician, sort of like just tips and advice, since I've been doing it for a while. And I like that. See, it's taking shape basically, and every now and then I'll throw in a video blog that's, you know, about something totally different. But yeah, so the main course here is the advice on do-it-yourself music. It lets me stir the pot, so to speak, on, you know, what we can do and how we can change this whole world that we're a part of, and like for the better, and give advice out to other artists looking for advice. And vice versa. Once my comments start improving, you know, comments are kind of like a community, so that sort of thing. That's helped tremendously. And there's something else. I bought a bass back in February, and it's a Hofner bass, Hofner violin bass. I've done about 4 or 5 videos on the Hofner because I absolutely love it. It's become a part of my look. It's becoming a part of my sound, and I just love talking about it. It's awesome. You can check those videos out on my video blog just in case you want to see what the bass looks like. Actually, just look at one of my photos. You'll see the bass pretty quick. So yeah, now that has a community, see? Because that's a bass that's like, people are starting to use it. They're starting to want to know more about it. So I kind of hit an area of YouTube that doesn't have a whole lot, you know? And especially the way I presented it. That's one of the big reasons you see that spike, because of the Hofner stuff. But, you know, along with a video blog, along with some, you know, occasionally I like to put some, like, just me goofing around and goofing around in life, and I toss it on a playlist called Ridiculousness. So I have my world shaped here on YouTube. I mean, it's really starting to take shape. It has taken shape this year more than any other year. And when I release content, like real content, like what my main bread and butter is, which is music, original music. Like, I'm gonna have a new song in a couple of weeks. You know, you'll be able to stream it here, along with, it'll be 98 original songs at that point. And you can hear all the songs here on my YouTube channel. There'll be a music video. It'll be on the music playlist, music video playlist. I released Star Peaches this year, which is a children's story. That's a first. It's been a good year for me in terms of being an original artist, and for my YouTube channel. Now, the numbers haven't spiked tremendously, but I'm seeing an improvement. And this sheet here doesn't lie. It's going up. So basically what I'm saying here, and coming off, I hope I'm not coming off like I'm bragging or anything, because it's nothing to brag about at this point. It's just an improvement. That's all I'm trying to show. And that in the search of what I can do wrong and what we can do right in this world, I'm improving. See? And I'm not talking about the music. The music, I'm always trying to improve. That's not a new thing. I know how to record music. I know how to make music. That's the reason I'm here. But that's only one part of a business, of a career, you know? And the rest is finding yourself and figuring out what works. And I want to do this because I want to improve and get to the point where I can start playing more live shows. And guess what? People care. Because nobody wants to play where people don't care, you know? And that's the only way you're gonna make it happen. But you're not gonna make it happen if you're constantly making mistakes, not noticing them. You need to have a support group that tells you the truth, and that's very important. So yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you find something from it. Comment if you have, you know, anything to say about it. Maybe your own observations if you're a do-it-yourself artist as well. What has worked for you? What doesn't? You know, we have to start sharing these ideas because it's a world that's barely starting to take shape. Not everyone needs the big music industry anymore. I mean, it's awesome. It still makes great music here and there, but there's other options now, which I've said a lot of different times on these video blogs. So anyways, yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, rock on.